When we started talking about color theory, we started with the color wheel, mostly because it's art law. You have to start with the color wheel. But while we have been thinking about primaries and secondaries and intermediates that are not tertiaries, we haven't really talked about variation within the hue categories. So in this class, we're going to define hue as the big bucket of color, the thing that shows up on the color wheel: red, blue-violet, yellow-green, whatever. But within each of those hue categories, there is still a lot of variation. So how does that happen? It happens because of the properties of color, which of course are boardwalk, Park Place, and then you probably want to get one of those railroads. The properties of color are value, its relative lightness or darkness. It's rated on a scale that goes from white to black. Intensity, also sometimes called saturation, also called brightness, also called chroma, because again, art people can agree on nothing. Intensity is the purity of the color, how much color is in your color. It goes from a hue to a pure neutral. Some people will construct it so that it goes from a pure hue through the neutral gray and out the other side to the complement on the color wheel. So in other words, you'd have a scale that goes from red through gray to green. We aren't going to do that because our paint can't do that. In fact, most pigments can't do that. So we're going to just think of intensity as being rated on a scale of pure color through to a neutral gray. Our third property of color is temperature. Some people are going to call this hue, and basically it is the warmth of your color, and that's what the chart at the bottom of the screen is showing. We have warm colors, yellows, oranges, reds. We have cool colors, greens, blues, violets. But it is important to remember that there's also variation within the hue category. You could have such a thing as a cool red. It would be a red that leans towards purple. That's where things like the undertone are going to come in. You could have a warm green, one with it has a lot of yellow in it. Or you could have a cool violet or a warm violet. So in the greens, in the violets, it's sometimes hard to decide exactly where you want to put things. Basically, we're going to read it as a scale that goes from red-orange to blue. But a lot of people will disagree on exactly how we want to rate it. What's probably more important for us is to recognize that there is variation within the hue category. You could have such a thing as a warm blue. It's still going to be a cool color, but compared to all the other blues, it is warmer, either because it's leaning towards violet or it's leaning towards green. Both of them are going to be warmer than blue by itself. When we're thinking about temperature, what we want to do is to understand not just how it works in terms of the way in which we're going to define a warm color and a cool color, but also to recognize that there is a big emotional impact to the temperature of color. When Superman just can't take it anymore and he wants to go to his man cave, the Fortress of Solitude, we're going to depict it as lots of relaxing, low-intensity, cool colors, partly because it's made out of ice, partly because he needs to relax. Whereas when we're thinking about Phoenix, we're going to use reds and oranges and yellows because she's hot.